Hey folks, this is Noble Rambler, and I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself and the goals and mission of the Noble Rambler Gaming Network, or, well, at least the gaming channel. Network may be getting a little bit ahead of myself. Now, I've been computer gaming for more years than I care to mention, though it was just a few years ago that I discovered YouTube Let's Play videos. Mostly I'd watch a scene or two to figure out how to get through a tough part of a game, or to watch a game before shelling out the big bucks. Usually I would just skip ahead to see the parts I was looking for, then I'd turn it off. Mission accomplished. It wasn't until one day when I stumbled across a Quill 18 video. I think it was for the pre-release of the game Banished that I got caught up in the narration and his personality and found myself not only hanging around, but clicking into the next video of the series. Soon I was on the last episode wanting more. Banished led to one of his series on Crusader Kings, then Europa Universalis. I don't know about you, but I've always had a hard time saying that name. Then the incredibly addictive Dwarf Fortress, and I was hooked. From Quill 18's influence, I came across another gamer named Briarstone and became instantly addicted to his Skyrim roguelike series. What he does is jump into a game of Skyrim as a pre-planned character with a mod that starts him at a random location, then follows the events of the game as the character, making the decisions that the character would make. Not only is it good storytelling and a lot of fun to sit back and watch for hours at a time, it got me to thinking, this looks like a lot of fun to make. Even I can do this. So a Skyrim series of some sort is definitely on Noble Rambler's agenda. So then I started searching other channels for interesting content and personalities, and while I found several, I kept hitting against what for me personally was a frustrating wall. What I found was that most gamers cuss up a storm when they play. Now I have no problems with the occasional slip of an "oh damn" when something really goes wrong, but to lace every other sentence with a constant barrage of four-letter words gets old really fast. When you can't hold a normal conversation without building a shock value into what you're trying to say, I'm ready to check out. In real life, I've trained myself not to go there. I see cussing as an excuse to not come up with something more intelligent to say. The F word especially. There's nothing more crude and ignorant than to lace the F word throughout your conversation in order to get your point across. I mean, come on folks. Well, since even Quill and Briarstone's videos can get a little, shall we say, salty at times, I got to thinking about creating something similar to what they do. Something entertaining and strategic in city and colony building like what Quill specializes in, and something adventurous and a bit roguelike, similar to what Briarstone does so well, but add my own spin to it. Now I know I can't do all that they do, especially since I don't have the manpower to pull off a professional live Twitch feed, but I'm sure that I can pull off a YouTube gaming channel stocked with good clean fun and adventure. So the process of setting up this gaming channel has been in the works, it feels like at a glacier's pace, for the last 6 months or so. There is equipment to buy, a quiet recording space to create, and time to carve out. I run my own business, and spring and fall are my busiest times. And this year, summer was way too hot in this little second floor, not insulated studio. So with fall winding down, I'm just getting to where I can make the time to start cranking out some entertaining Let's Plays for you. And yes, I expect my first attempts to sound a bit like an amateur. I mean, if you want to get a good laugh, go and find the first few episodes of your favorite YouTube gamers and see for yourself the difference a year or two makes in their narration and appeal. It took many, many videos before they found their rhythm and style. With time, they got better. Then they got really good. I expect to do the same, so don't give up on me too soon, okay? Now I know many of you will be asking, how did the name Noble Rambler come about? Well, Noble has to do with the disposition and personality of the characters that I like to play. I tend to take the paladin role, the shining knight riding in on the white horse, the one who takes out the bad guys. I like to play the character who saves the damsel in distress and rids the village of the evil that plagues it. I really don't get any pleasure in playing the role of an evil character, demonic creatures, or darkness in general. That's just not who I am in real life, and I guess my gaming character tends to parallel my own character. But beyond this, or perhaps as a result, Noble will also reflect the character of the gaming channel itself. Have you ever wanted to show your friends or family a video about a game you're interested in, and ended up uncomfortably sitting through that gamer's never-ending barrage of four-letter words, as if cussing more and louder somehow makes their video better? Or perhaps you'd like to watch a gaming video with your kids without having to preview it first for spewing gallons of blood and gore or unexpected mature content. I want to create a place for you to come and watch some interesting videos without being forced to endure all that. A place where certain lines are not crossed, or at least if flirted with, there will be some kind of warning in the description. For the most part, Noble means that you can sit back and enjoy a gaming adventure video without having to be prepared at a moment's notice to lunge for the volume knob every time the F-bomb gets lobbed through your speakers and explodes all over the room, or have to worry about what scene is coming next in case younger eyes are watching alongside you. I want to create a place of strategy, survival, and fun where you don't have to cringe at what may be coming up next. Now, this is not to say that Noble Rambler will be G-rated. I mean, we're not going to be playing Farmville or Candy Crush. Noble Rambler will take out his share of bad guys, he will go for the headshot whenever possible, and he will hew open a zombie or 10 once in a while. But you can rest assured that he will not turn into a seething, demon-possessed serial killer with a lust for hunting innocents and laughing about it in four-letter word-laced rampages. Games will be chosen for their adventure or exploration or just plain fun, without being loaded with content that will have to be apologized for later. We can have a lot of fun with a game like Skyrim without having to wade through the subject matter of games like Far Cry or Witcher. Speaking of games, Rambler has to do with the types of games that I want to explore. More than any other, I like open world games. That is to say, those that allow me to choose my own path and destiny, or at least strive for it. I want to roam where I please, go where it looks interesting and where a good story can be found. Of course, there are dozens of games that give that openness and freedom to let you choose your own path and create what you want. There are realistic ones like The Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, or Skyrim, or not so realistic like Minecraft or even a two-dimensional game like Don't Starve. I enjoy realistic simulators like The Hunter, which does an excellent job of simulating walking through the woods while deer hunting, or Euro Trucker, which puts you in a realistic-feeling cab of a semi-truck on the narrow streets of Europe, or Farming Simulator, which drops you into a variety of tractors and equipment to till, sow, and harvest your fields. I also like colony builders or city management scenarios like RimWorld, Banished, Tropico, Craft the World, or City Skylines. I enjoy space simulators, games like the X3 series, Freelancer, and Faster Than Light. And then there are survival simulators like DayZ, The Long Dark, Savage Lands, The Sunless Sea, or Sir, You're Being Hunted. Whenever I hear that title, I always think of Charlie Bit My Finger. I also have fun digging into strategy games like Crusader Kings or Europa Universalis, the kind of games that get you to episode 50 and you barely scratch the surface. There is a good strategic element in many great titles like Grand Ages Medieval, Darkest Dungeon, Sid Meier's Civilization, This War of Mine, Age of Empires, and one of my all-time favorites, Rise of Nations. As well, I enjoy a good role-playing game, though these tend to be more linear than open world, yet games like Mass Effect and the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic do a pretty good job of giving you a sense of freedom and choice. As well, though a bit darker, titles like Metro 2033 or Last Light, or even Fallout, if you know where not to go to stay within Noble's guidelines. Of course, there is the renowned Half-Life series and the newer Black Mesa reboot that is always fun to revisit as the one free man. And I enjoy more vintage titles like Dungeon Siege, the Star Wars Jedi Knight series, Baldur's Gate, or Neverwinter Nights, just to name a few. There are so many titles out there on which to build a YouTube gaming channel without being so focused on blood and gore or foul language and mature themes. I remember back when most games were themed either around arcade-style shoot-'em-ups or strategy and simulation, or just basic good versus evil. Of course, there's room to debate what truly is good or evil, for none of us are truly good, but in general there was the good guys against the bad guys, and you fought or strategized for what appeared to be a good cause. A game like Skyrim provides an excellent palette on which to craft an adventure worthy of a character like Noble Rambler, where there are so many places to discover, quests to champion, and bandit gangs and foul beasts to wipe out. It is for such venues as this that Noble Rambler wants to focus. He prefers to travel distant lands, seas, or star systems in search of a good adventure, and he tends to take the role of the good guy wherever he lands, or at least as good as that particular game will allow. I'll admit there will be times when the concept of good might get a little bit sketchy, but all in all that is the overriding goal, to have fun and good company without dragging a lot of unnecessary garbage along. Now, when choosing the name Noble Rambler, I had to work my way through a long list of potential names that turned out to already be claimed. Like, I really wanted the name Noble Gamer, so much easier to pronounce too, but as you might know, that name was taken long ago. So I went for the name Noble Warrior, and of course that one is gone as well. So I went to the thesaurus and made a long list of synonyms. Did you know there are 2 Y's in synonym? I've always had trouble spelling that because I could never remember where the Y went. Then the other day I realized that there were 2 Y's in it, and since then I've had no no trouble spelling synonym. Anyway, I made a list of noble words like just, gallant, defender, intrepid, valiant, stalwart, right, shield, and a bunch more, as well a list of warrior or explorer words like knight, guardian, defender, paladin, pathfinder, scout, settler, ranger, vagabond. I came up with a whole page of these. Then I passed the list out to my family, who came up with suggestions, and we came up with names like Noble Knight, Just Knight, the Knight Gallant, the Noble Wanderer, which was kind of hard to say, the Knight Explorer, This One Knight, Celtic Warrior, the Warrior Noble, the Stalwart Vagabond, Noble Quest, Roaming Paladin, which is kind of like Roaming Gnome, Noble Tales, Night Venture, and many more. The problem was trickier than just choosing a clever name that was still available on YouTube. If this gaming channel grows up one day into a gaming network, the name also needed to be available on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Gmail, as well as a .com. Thinking ahead, a good gaming channel has the possibility of becoming a business, so wisdom suggests that these things be planned from the start, rather than as an afterthought when it's probably going to be too late. So after lots of trial and error, Noble Rambler seemed to be the most descriptive and fitting, and was still available everywhere. So I've now got the Noble Rambler YouTube gaming channel, Twitch and Twitter, Gmail, and even NobleRambler.com, though I haven't used most of these yet. I've got Noble Rambler's public entertainer page on Facebook, and I've been keeping a journal of sorts there as I've set all this up. Of course, I did the noob thing and first set up a personal page on Facebook for Noble Rambler, with Noble first name and Rambler last name, only to find that that's not the way it's done. My daughter was kind enough to point that out to me. Anyway, that's the history of how Noble Rambler got his name. The next big question is, where should Noble Rambler start his quest? What should his debut game be? I've just finished recording and uploading a 9-episode series on RimWorld Alpha 12 that I use as a test series to learn how to record and edit videos, including 2 that crashed to desktop mid-game. Thankfully, Fraps did a masterful job of immediately starting a second video without skipping a beat, that I then got to practice editing seamlessly back together again. Some of the videos came out too quiet and a couple were too long, though I have no problem with hour-long videos since I just set aside a Chrome tab and get back to it whenever I have a chance. I mean, I've got a Quill 18 and Briarstone tab and a few others, each waiting to continue whatever series of video I was watching last. So, with lessons learned in RimWorld, the question is where to venture next. There is a long list of games already in my Steam library, as well as on old discs that have been sitting on shelves or in boxes for years. I regret that some of my oldest games are gone, sold at garage sales or given away over time. Games like LucasArts Full Throttle or AD&D Adventures of Pool of Radiance and Curse of the Azure Bonds set in the Forgotten Realms, or later Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, and of course the Star Wars games like X-Wing, Rebel Assault, and Dark Forces with Kyle Katarn, though thankfully these last ones are available once again through Steam. I'm always surprised now when I look back at the poor graphics of those old games, because back then when they were new to us, the graphics looked amazing. At least that's the way I remember it. It was like reading a book. Your imagination just took over and filled in the gaps. Well, literally, the pixel gaps, and made them to be whatever they needed to be. Games just seemed to have a different character back then, or perhaps it is our characters that have changed now. But with over 200 titles in my Steam library, half of which I've never even played, but looked like they would be a lot of fun someday, it is so hard to resist a good Steam summer sale. And many more on disc. There are so many possibilities for Noble Rambler's premiere Let's Play. He could drop into an open world scenario where the sky's the limit on storyline and options, or he could go for a role-playing game that takes us on a carefully and skillfully guided adventure of action and suspense. Or he could go back to his roots and pay homage to a title that played a prominent role in developing his current playstyle and sense of character. Wherever he starts, there will be a good variety to follow, and years worth of titles to keep the channel interesting, especially with new games hitting the market all the time. It should be a fun adventure, and I just wanted to create this little intro video so that those who came along much later can look back to see how it all started. So I'll leave you with this quote from the great ship Serenity's Captain Malcolm Reynolds. "It's good to have cargo. Makes us a target for every other scavenger out there, of course, but sometimes that's fun too." Thanks for listening. Noble Rambler signing off.